Hey everybody, Mike Chipperini at Chipper's Island Adventures, and today I'm going to do a little project that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. And this project is dealing with the Lagun table, which I'm going to add another mount to my Winnebago Travato 59K. So hey everybody, I've been wanting to do this project for quite a while now. And as we all know, in the Winnebago Travato 59K, there are two mounts for the table. One is on this pedestal right down here. And then the other one is at the foot of the bed. But oftentimes, I want to have the table up in here. For instance, if I'm hanging out watching TV, laying on this side or this side, I would like to have a table here somewhere because this one is just a little bit too far forward. So what I was thinking about was putting a mount on the driver's side towards like 1/3 away from the head of the bed. And then I decided, that's a lot of pain in the tail to get to as far as access. So now I've decided I'm going to put it on the passenger side, roughly about 1/3 or 2/5 away from the head of the bed, basically down around here. Now the nice thing is that I can easily lift up the whole bed and go ahead and mount it right there because I have access in behind here, and that's key. So as you can see, the mount that we have here actually has a little spacer before the mount begins. And there's a reason for that, and that's to allow to get away from some of the trim that you see right here and clear the bed a little bit. So I'm going to show you what I've come up with for a spacer. Here we see the Lagun mount right here. And these are pieces of decking. Basically, this is fiber on, but you've heard of Trex, things like that. And it's a composite decking. And what I did is I went ahead and cut a piece down to the exact same size. And I actually made 3 just in case I messed up one since I had it and I was cutting it already. So with that said, I can now take this spacer and rip it down the middle or thereabout. I'm going to bring it up to the van and make a little pencil mark for the width and use the same width as before. And then I'll go ahead and cut it in half to the proper width. So let's go up to the van and I'll do that right now. So what I'm going to do is trace this next to the other Lagun table mount spacer so that I have the proper width. I could measure it, but I figure I'd just trace it and then I'm pretty accurate. So if we get down here, I can see the width right here. And I'm just going to make a mark. And that looks pretty good right there. And I'll do another mark just to make sure. As you can see, that is about half the thickness of what I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and rip this down, and then using the smooth side, which will go right up against here, we'll have a nice mount. Okay, so what I did is I cut 2 because really what I want is a thicker piece with the smooth side. And I'll go ahead and You can see it's a little bit uneven on the back from the saw. And I'll go ahead and I'll smooth that out with a sander in here. All right, so I have two different thicknesses just to see what lays better. And looking at this is the right thickness for this spacer. But I do have this one, but I think that's a little bit too thin. So I'm going to use this spacer, and then we'll go ahead and mount it on like so. But as I said, this is going to be further down here. So this is where I want to mount it. So now what I have to determine is the thickness from the front of the plate to the back of the board to include a 1/2 inch backer board. And then I can get the appropriate screws and nuts and a couple washers so that it all stays where I want. So that'll be the next step. I got to figure out the thickness here. It doesn't feel way thick. And then I'll go get the screws and I'll show you how we mount it. So one of the things I did is I figured out the width of the wall of which I'm going to be mounting this on, which is underneath the passenger side bed. And the width of that wall is around 5/8 of an inch. Then I figured out the width plus my material, which is about 1 1/4 plus the 5/8. We're talking roughly 2 inches, give or take. I went out and bought these 2 1/4 inch stainless steel screws. So that will go through. And then I also have washers that I'll put on the backer plate side. So that'll be a perfect fit for these mounts. And running it through the thickness, it'll give me a little bit of excess, but not much. But what I have to do is go ahead and drill holes. I want to pre-drill the holes through all of this. So I'm just going to put everything together like so. And then I'll go ahead and mark my holes. So what I have to do is drill 4 holes through both the spacer board and the backer board. So the other thing I need to do is figure out the drill bit size. All right, so these screws are they're a little less than 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use a 1/4 of an inch drill bit, because when I go through these pieces, I want it to be fairly tight. That way there'll be no movement up and down. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have a drill press over there. I'm going to get that set up, and then I'm going to make my drill holes. Now with any luck, these should all fit through really, really well and tight. There's one. Oh, they're tight all right. So what happens, because of the tightness, sometimes these holes are a little bit off. So I'm just going to clean it out like so. Give it a little bit of assistance here. And there you go. There's another screw in. Clean this one out. Like so. That one's through. So now what I have to do is mount this all in that area underneath the passenger side bed. So I'm going to grab all the hardware and we'll head up there. All right, one of the first things I want to do is make sure this mount fit. That would really stink if I went to use this after mounting it and the Lagun table did not fit on this mount. So now I'm going to figure out where's the best mount. And I'm thinking right about here would be perfect. I like that position. I have access to all the screws in the back, and it's in the corner. What I'm going to do is go ahead and see if I can hold this on here. And that's pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole through and one. I want to make sure it's straight up and down. Two. Three. By using these screws, I'm going to go ahead and hold this in place. That should go all the way through, and it is. I can feel it back here. All the way through. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and mounted my spacer plate on with the screws, and I'm going to go ahead and push everything through, and hopefully it'll cooperate. So now that I put my spacer plate on with the 4 screws, I'm going to try to mount the backer plate on the inside. And if I go ahead and just drill this through, yeah, I can feel that one going through the hole. I can feel that one going through. These are going to be the tricky ones. Same with that one. Okay, I'm just going to clean out this hole a little bit because it's a little tight. Oh yeah. You know, sometimes you just got to piecemeal this and do what you got to do. But when all is said and done, it should be hunky-dory, as they say. See, that's pulling it in nice and snug now on the back side. As you can see, it's not looking too bad. It's up against the back. It's really not looking too bad. I'll see if I can get a little light down here. I don't know if you can see that well, but it's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead, we don't need to film all this, and mount the washers and the locking nuts on. And the thing is once you get pretty close, you want to hand tighten it. I got an offset wrench back here. I'm using that offset wrench to turn the nut on the back side of this, just to hand tighten it. That's pretty good. That is not going anywhere. We'll see what it looks like with the bed down. Not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this on and check it out. Very nice fit. Then if I take the table, so here's a nice thing about having this table right here. If I'm here by myself, traveling, I have this table that if I'm kicking back, relaxing, watching TV, it's right here, and I can have a beer or a late night cap or whatever. If I'm traveling with two people, now we have a table right between us that we can watch TV in. If you need to get out of bed, it obviously spins right around and you can hop out. So I like having this diversity of having another mount here. You saw how this was done? As usual, with most of my projects, I stumbled my way through it. But the thing you want to make sure is that you use a good spacer and a good backup plate. The screws I used were a little bit long, but they work. They're about, I think, what did I say, 2.5 inches long? I could have went with probably even 2 or 2 1/4 tops, but whatever length they were probably about 1/4 of an inch too long. But I'm going to leave them there. If they get caught up on something as I'm pulling something out of the storage, I can always just trim them off, neaten up the ends. Not a big deal. But the bottom line is, I like having the table here, and I will still use it up there, especially during times when I'm cooking, because it's a great secondary counter space to have this table mounted at the end of the beds. But I'm going to enjoy having it back here for now, and I think you will too if you choose to make this project your own. And with that, after stumbling my way through this video, if you like it, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel. All the best to all, and happy adventure.